What's going on, y'all? Five Sports Hall back at it with another video talking, of course, some NBA, talking some Chicago Bulls. So if you're a Bulls fan, welcome. And go ahead and subscribe by clicking the button down below. And also, if you want to be notified every time I post a video, because I do post daily videos, go ahead and click the bell icon down below to be notified about that, as well as follow me on my social media, my Twitter, my Instagram. You can ask me questions, debate, let's talk. Let's do all of that, okay? With that being said, here to talk about some Chicago Bulls, okay? And you guys see behind me, I've got the whiteboard because obviously the last whiteboard video was a pretty big success. So I'm going to bring it back and I'm going to be doing more whiteboard videos. So again, if you do like them, please let me know down below. But if you don't, let me know that as well, okay? Always open and change. With that being said, you guys see the topic of today's video. We are going to be talking about the rotation. And yes, I know it's very early. Season's still a few months away. But now that we've got the draft and the free agency out of the way, we can kind of decide and look at how this rotation is going to shake out, okay? So I'm going to talk about the Bulls rotation, who I expect to get the majority of the minutes. I'm going to be giving you guys a scenario at the start of the season versus where the rotation will be at the end of the season and everything else in between, right? So with that being said, I don't want to wait any longer. Let's get started. So, as mentioned, with the draft behind us and free agency for the most part drying up, the Bulls, I think, are pretty much done at this point in terms of roster acquisitions, okay? And the reason I say that is, one, because the draft is done, okay? And we've got our players from the draft. And with free agency, we are out of cap space, okay? Completely. And we've signed 3 players. And for the most part, outside of, exceptions here and there, we don't really have money to spend anymore. So to me, I believe we're set. We've got our roster. It's about 15 players right now. Could we cut some players before training camp? Sure. Should we add or remove some? Sure. But they will be non-essential to the rotation, meaning they're going to be fringe end of the roster guys that really won't be getting major minutes. We know who's going to be getting the major minutes, which is why I want to project out the rotation, okay? So let's go to the whiteboard and let's take a look at the roster itself. So I'm going to start from the left-hand side, my left-hand side here, and talk about the main guys, okay? And that's why I don't want you to focus on here, but I will get to that in a second. The reason I've got the main guys listed here is because, again, not everyone is going to get minutes, okay? And that's the reality of the situation. This is the NBA. You play your best guys, really, okay? So how do you project out rotation minutes? It's fairly simple, okay? There's one number you really got to focus on, and that is 240. This is the magic number right here, and that is the total number of minutes you're allowed to allocate to your entire rotation. Where do I get this number from, 240 minutes? Well, basically, if you take 48, which is 48 minutes is how long an NBA game is, and you multiply that by 5. So, for instance, if all your starters just played the entire game, right, 48 minutes, you would get 240 minutes. So starters don't play all game. Your bench plays, obviously, so that is why you would allocate the rest to the other spots. So that is the number we have to keep in mind. Everything has to add up to this number, 240 minutes. Okay, so let's start with the starting lineup. And again, I know everybody's going to talk about Coby White. Listen, relax. I'm not saying Coby White is starting for sure. Tomas Satoransky, the free agent guard we picked up from the Wizards, he could certainly start. I'm not opposed to that either. Kris Dunn's still on the roster. Could he start in training camp? Sure. So here's my thing. A lot of this is obviously my input as well, okay? I do believe, and I've been saying this, Coby White wins the starting job. But even if he doesn't, you can flip-flop Tomas Satoransky and Coby White, and you can probably get the same amount of minutes, okay? But for my purposes, I will assume Coby White start. And here's the thing. Lauri Markkanen started all 68 games his rookie year. Wendell Carter Jr. started all 44 games. So he's a high draft pick, 7th overall, just like Lauri and Wendell were. And they started. So it's not new here. And that's what I want to focus on here, okay? And the other reason I'm focusing on the rotation is because, to me, I do find potential and talent in this Bulls roster, but the one thing that I don't like is Jim Boylen. I'm not a big fan of him. So I hope, Jim Boylen has somewhat of a similar thinking where I have in terms of how this rotation should play out. Okay, so let's just get started here. I've got Coby White. Zach LaVine, Otto Porter Jr., Lauri Markkanen, and Wendell Carter Jr. These guys are going to get the bulk of minutes, okay? So let's project out what I believe they will get. Remember, this I'm going to do beginning of the season, and then I'm going to do one for the end of the season, okay? Because beginning of the season, you're trying to see who can play, who cannot. End of the season, around playoff time, if the Bulls do make the playoffs, you pretty much have your roster set. It shrinks. Your rotation shrinks. You're not going to play everybody, and you're going to play your starters more minutes, okay? So a conservative projection to me, I think this is pretty good. 25 minutes for Coby White. I think that's right along where you would expect him, a rookie, to be. 30 minutes is obviously too much. I thought about maybe 28 minutes, but I'm pretty comfortable with 25 minutes for Coby White. I think that's enough time for him to obviously, start, but also not too much time to where he's still a rookie. He has to earn it, okay? And let's get to Zach LaVine now, and I'm going to kind of do the starters fairly quickly because the rest of these guys, they're set, okay? We know they're going to get a bunch of minutes. Zach LaVine last year averaged about 34 minutes, so I'm going to stick with that. For LaVine, 34. Otto Porter Jr. averaged about 32 minutes, so let's stick with that. Lauri Markkanen averaged around 32 minutes, so let's stick with that. And then Wendell Carter Jr., I'm going to go with 30 minutes. Okay? So, for the most part, these guys, that's what they averaged last year, okay? So, I'm going to give them that. The only one that's changing the starting lineup is Coby White again. That's because I believe Coby White will be starting, okay? So, you've got your starters. They're playing major heavy minutes. Cool. Let's get to the bench here, okay? Thaddeus Young, our backup big behind Lauri. I believe he's going to get major minutes, like a ton of minutes, okay? And it's going to increase as the year goes on. I'm going to give him, to me, a somewhat conservative projection of about 25 minutes. But trust me, folks, when I tell you Thaddeus Young's going to play a lot, he's going to play behind Lauri. Sometimes he could be our small ball center. Sometimes he could play the 3. There's a lot of ways, and we're paying him a lot of money, $13 million a year, $41 million total. He's going to get minutes, okay? I have him at 25 minutes, but that could certainly increase, give or take 25 to 30 minutes. He'll be around that for sure. Tomas Satoransky, the other guy that we signed in free agency, I'm going to go with 22 minutes for him. And again, how I'm at this number is because, again, it's got to be lower than the starter if you're coming off the bench, but still enough where he's getting playing time to be able to, make an impact, and that's where I do believe Satoransky will be able to do so. 22 minutes is pretty good, but then what does that leave? That leaves Kris Dunn as the odd man out, so I'm going to give him about 15 minutes, which is way lower than he's been used to. But again, you can't be given all 3 point guards 20 minutes each or, 15 minutes each. It's just, you're not going to get a rhythm going that way, okay? So Kris Dunn, I believe he'll start out with this many minutes, assuming Coby White wins the job, and you're going to play Sato. And here's the thing with Sato. All 22 minutes don't have to be as a backup to Coby White. He could play the 2 behind LaVine. He could play the 3 behind Porter. Yes, he's 6'7". He can play the 3, okay? So all 22 minutes don't have to be behind Coby White. Denzel Valentine and Luke Kornet. Let me go to Luke Kornet first. He's our backup center. It is no longer going to be Daniel Gafford. He is the newest acquisition we took from the New York Knicks, 7'1", stretch big, who can play the 4 and the 5. I believe Luke Kornet is going to play 10 minutes on the backup spot because he can play behind Wendell Carter Jr., he can play behind Lauri, so he is going to be our main big man backup. And then Denzel Valentine, folks, this is going to surprise you. I have him at 10 minutes, and here's the thing. He's been averaging about 25 to 28 minutes the past seasons that he's played. But he just has obviously not stayed healthy, and where's the room here? You're not taking away minutes from the 5 starters, and really Coby White could be replaced with Sato. Thaddeus Young you're going to play. Kris Dunn and Luke Kornet have to get their minutes. There's just not that much left for Denzel Valentine here. And again, that's a far cry from the 20 minutes he averaged, but I just can't see it any other way, okay? Let's take a look at the guys outside looking in. With Ryan Arcidiacono, who we did re-sign to a 3-year deal. Chandler Hutchinson, our second-round pick. Daniel Gafford, our second-round pick. This is from last year. This is from this year. And then the outside looking in, basically Antonio Blakeney and Cristiano Felicio. They're not going to play, okay? These guys are just insurance guys that we play if we're up by 20, 30 points. Antonio Blakeney can score a little bit. Cristiano Felicio, I don't ever want him to ever touch the ball or come in the game, actually. And then there could be some two-way signings we could do. But for the most part, these guys won't be in the rotation. Outside looking in, I'm going to start off with giving Hutch. One of these guys could earn about 5 minutes, okay? There's about 5 minutes left when I add this up. And those 5 minutes could be allocated either to Gafford or Archie. I'm going to say Hutchinson gets those 5 minutes to start off the year just because we need a little bit more depth behind Levine and Otto Porter Jr. So let's give it 5 minutes. But again, outside looking in, they won't play every night. This is what that means, that for every night you're not going to be guaranteed playing time. These guys will be. Okay, now that we've got sort of the early season projected minutes, if you will, let's talk about what happens to the rotation late in the season if we are in playoff contention, if we're trying to get in the playoffs, or if we're even in the playoffs, okay? What happens then? So I'm going to kind of draw a line here to differentiate that, but basically just follow through with the minutes. And I told you, if that happens, we're later in the season, the rotation is going to shorten. That means max 8 to 9 guys, 8 for sure, maybe 9. And that's really it. Okay, assuming that happens, Coby White, all the starters' minutes will go up, okay? So Coby White, let's put him at 28 minutes. Let's put Zach LaVine at about 36 minutes, okay? We can put Otto Porter Jr., we can keep him the same at 32, but let's increase Lauri to 34, and let's increase Wendell Carter to 32, okay? So starters play major minutes. I think Coby White, as he earns the trust of Coach Jim Boylen, he's going to be given more playing time, and again, maybe even hover around the 30-minute range. But for the most part, our big guys, meaning our main guys, I should say, and LaVine and Lauri get the most minutes, and then our solidified starters in OPJ and Wendell Carter Jr., second most, and then, of course, Coby White. So there you have it with the starters. Now, I mentioned to you guys with the bench, I do believe Thaddeus Young's minutes will go up as well. Let's put him around 28. I could see him getting 30 minutes off the bench. I really do believe that. He's very versatile. We can play him in a lot of places. So I'm going to give 20 minutes there. Tomas Satoransky, 25 minutes. Again, the great thing with Satoransky is it doesn't all have to be in one position. He can play the 2. He can play the 3. We can put him at multiple spots. So I've got him increasing to 25 minutes. And this is where the rotation matters, because now I'm assuming end of the season, if whoever obviously wins a starting job, so let's say Chris Dunn or Coby White or Satoransky, someone will be out of the rotation. I'm assuming it's Chris Dunn, or he could be traded. Okay, he could be traded. So those 15 minutes are gone, and now you allocate that to Valentine and really Kornet. I do believe Valentine's minutes will probably stay the same. And then Luke Kornet, I think, will increase about 15 minutes because I do believe he'll be very necessary. And then you can cut out the minutes here because these guys will not be playing come playoff time, come deep, and I shouldn't say deep rotations, come deeper in the regular season where the rotation will shorten. These guys will not be playing. It'll just be the main guys. So you've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Like I mentioned, 8 to 9 players are going to be playing once the rotation shortens up. So there you have it, folks. A little sneak preview of what I believe the rotation is going to look like. Now, again, I don't know Jim Boylen that well and his style. Really, it's been one season only since he's been the Bulls head coach. But for the most part, he should follow a rotation somewhere along these lines. The only one, again, that I'm not sure about is who starts at point guard between Coby White and Tomas Satoransky, or even Chris Dunn, or if Chris Dunn's going to be on the roster. We don't know that, but for the most part, we know the other guys will get their minutes. We know Thaddeus Young will get his minutes, Satoransky will get his minutes, and I do believe Luke Kornet will get his minutes, folks. People think he's not going to play. He will play. He is our backup big man, and these guys are going to be fringe guys that will play every now and then, and these guys will probably never see the floor unless it's, a 30-point blowout. Either the Bulls are blowing teams out or they're getting blown out, okay? So there we have it, folks. Let me know if you guys enjoyed that video. Leave a big thumbs up if you did, and if you want me to do more of these, let me know down below. As always, thanks for watching.